So after only a few hours of AFKing, I managed to gain over 3,000 raid levels on each of my accounts, completely AFKing simply using the tips and tricks that I showed you earlier in the video. Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to their Pet Sim 99 video. Today Pet Sim updated with the part 2 of the Lucky Raid event and actually added quite a few cool new features. So I'm going to go over everything that they added as well as show you all of the enchants boosts and everything else that you should be doing in order to do tons of damage in the raids and easily earn yourself thousands of raid levels every few hours while AFKing. You don't even have to manually play, which is pretty insane. Now before I get into that, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget that once I reach 35,000 subscribers, we'll be hosting another massive 50 plus huge pet giveaway on Pet Sim 99. But with that being said, I do give away at least 10 huge pets every single video, and if you want a chance to win one of these huge pets, all the giveaway information will be in the description. Okay, so today they actually added quite a lot of stuff. I'm going to quickly go over everything that they added, and then I'm going to go over all the enchants boosts and stuff that you should be using if you want to get through these raids as fast as possible and get yourself tons of loot. So when it comes to upgrades, they did add 3 new upgrades here at the bottom. Now, the boss key drops, I think the description is wrong. It says it increases your odds of better loot inside Lucky Raids, which is the exact same thing as the better loot upgrade. So I'm assuming this will just increase the drop rate of the keys. And then the other two increase the drop rate of huges from bosses and increase the drop rate of Titanic from bosses. Now, you might be wondering to yourself, what is a raid boss? Personally, I wouldn't call them raid bosses. They're more like raid chests. So basically inside of the raids, there are 3 different raid bosses that can be accessed using 3 different doors. So the first one is going to be in room 3. As you can see, once you make it to room 3, there is a door here for a tier 100 boss. Now, as long as your raid level 100 or above, you can open this and defeat the raid boss. And basically these bosses are just giant chests that move around. So they're honestly not really bosses, and they're not incredibly hard to defeat. Now, each boss does have their chance at dropping a unique huge pet for each boss. And the last one has a chance at dropping a Titanic. So that is pretty insane. There's also a special lever beside these doors that will appear once your raid level 5,000 or above, and once you activate it, your raid bosses will be in heroic mode, making them a lot stronger and more challenging to defeat, but they do drop a lot better rewards. Now, the last thing about raid bosses is that they are a great source of XP, especially for the lower tiers. So if you just unlocked the tier 100 boss, then definitely break a few of them and you will breeze through your levels, and the same goes for the other bosses. Now, moving on to the last and probably biggest feature that they added, which was the auto raid feature. As you can see on the left here, when you're in a raid, you have an option to turn on auto raid. Now, the game has been updated about like 10 times to try and fix this, and yet it still is very buggy. However, when you activate it, as you will see, it teleports you to like the room that you're in and will make you walk towards all of the chests and loot and basically clear the entire raid for you. Now, once you reach the end of the raid, it will restart another raid for you. So in theory, it is completely AFKable. However, currently it is still a bit broken and your character can get stuck in some things. Now, to offset this, when I AFK, I do use an external macro while I am auto raiding. Now, the macro I use is Tiny Task, and basically you can set a recording keybind as well as a playback keybind. And using the recording keybind, you record yourself doing a few actions, and then using the playback keybind, you can play back those actions over and over again, and make sure you turn on continuous playback. Now, this is pretty useful since as I'm AFKing, to help myself stop from getting stuck or help unstuck myself if I am stuck, I record myself occasionally clicking into each window and moving around a little bit, jumping around, so if I'm stuck, hopefully it gets me unstuck, and then I just click turn on auto raid again. And so occasionally as I'm AFKing and auto raiding, I have the macro go into each Roblox client and do that, and most of the time it does get me unstuck. Sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time it does. So with all the general update info out of the way, I do want to go over all the boosts, enchants, pets, everything that you can be doing to give yourself the maximum amount of damage inside the raids and clear these rooms as fast as possible. Okay, so when it comes to enchants, your enchant loadout may look a little different depending on what you're able to afford and whether or not you're going to be farming in this breakable area or farming the raids. Now, if you're going to farm in this breakable area, honestly, I would not recommend it. You really don't earn any coins at all and you earn barely any XP. But if you are going to be farming in this breakable area, strong pets, criticals, and most of the enchants will not work, so keep that in mind. So I would recommend using probably a couple of speed enchants, maybe even a magnet, because the orbs don't get sucked up into you when you're over here, as well as a happy pets and an explosive enchant. Now, that is if you're going to be farming this breakable area, which I would once again definitely not recommend. So when it comes to the enchants in the raid, you're going to want your enchant loadout to focus mainly on damage. Now, personally, I like to use 2 or 3 chest breaker enchants depending on whether or not I'm getting a ton of chests inside my breakable areas. Now, Now, as you can see, I'm basically one tapping most of these chests, so I do not really need all of these chest breakers on. So I'm going to instead put on a couple of strong pets because these do also work, as well as a critical 10 enchant and 2 tap power enchants, which actually do work. As you can see, with them on, I tap and I do 500 damage, but without them on, I tap, I only do 6.25 damage. So yeah, definitely use a couple of tap power enchants as well, since tapping does help you a lot when it comes to damage in these raids. And then I also use an exotic pet as well, and a corruption book, as well as a tap power and a large taps book. Now, as I get to higher raids and I encounter harder chests that are more difficult to break, I will probably be swapping out some of my tap enchants for some chest breakers, but right now I do not need them. Now, if you can't afford this corruption book, you can definitely swap it out for a couple of magic orb enchants instead, since these do also do some damage. Your main focus for your enchant loadout should be damage, so make sure you're using some strong pets, some criticals, and if you're going to be tapping the breakables, make sure you have some tap powers on, as well as maybe even a large tap and possibly a tap blast if you want. Now, I've seen some people using 2 critical 10 enchants, but as you can see, using this enchant loadout builder, you can actually see the threshold of each enchant. So technically I could use some more tap powers, but when it comes to critical, only 1 critical 10 book gives you the maximum threshold for criticals. So when you're making your loadouts, use this enchant builder, which will be linked in the description, to help you decide how many of each book you should be using depending on the rarity of book you're using. If you're using a lower tier book, you will definitely need more to reach the same amount of threshold, but you want to make sure all of these numbers are green or yellow to make sure you're maximizing your enchant loadout. All right, moving on to boosts. As you can see, when you're in the raid itself, your boosts do appear in the bottom left here. I've seen people say that the boosts actually do not work even though they appear, which would kind of make sense because the boosts don't even appear when you're in the normal event world. However, when you're doing the raids, I would recommend still having on some of your highest rarity damage potions, a couple cocktails since these do also help with damage, as well as some fruits and some of these toy boosts. Now, while we're on the topic of boosts, they did add some tier 2 boosts for the raids. As you can see, there is a tier 2 lucky raid XP booster and a tier 2 lucky raid damage booster. Now, honestly, in my opinion, compared to the amount of damage and XP boost that you can get from maxing out these upgrades, especially the damage upgrade and the XP upgrade, it will be worthwhile to use some of the tier 1 boosters since they are pretty cheap. However, people are definitely going to be upcharging for these tier 2 boosters because they're going to be trying to go for the leaderboard. So I probably would not recommend using the tier 2 boosters unless you're willing to waste quite a few diamonds on buying them. Now, with that being said, I do want to quickly talk about upgrades. There are a ton of upgrades in here, and you actually get lucky raid orbs pretty easily from doing raids. So when you're doing raids, I would recommend putting all of your orbs into raid damage, raid pets, more XP. Now, you could do raid attack speed, but I find it doesn't really do that much. But if you do max out the other ones, then definitely put the rest of your upgrade tokens into raid attack speed and speedy pet. Now, if you are a little more focused on loot and not getting through the raids as fast as possible, then you could put some of your upgrade tokens into these upgrades down here. Now, moving on to pet, they did do a bit of a revamp, and as you can see, they added in quite a few new stat pets. Now, I'm going to assume that these stat pets are still pretty good. However, if you want to do even more damage in the raids, you want to focus on getting some of these new stat pets, especially the last 2 stat pets here. Now, once you have some decent stat pets, I would definitely recommend using a team of exclusive or huge pets, but at the very least, make sure you're using a team of decent stat pets from this event world. And if you're using huge pets, you can also put some charms on your huge pets. So as you can see, I loaded mine up with some strength and royalty charms, which I definitely think is probably the best for breaking the breakables as fast as possible, considering strength does actually work inside the raids. So yeah, that is basically everything that you can do to do a ton of damage in the raids and get through as many levels as fast as possible. Now, in a few seconds here, I am going to AFK for a few hours with auto raid and using all the tips that I just showed you to see how many levels I can gain within just a few hours. But first off, I do want to mention, if you're using auto raid, say goodbye to the leaderboard positions because auto raid is incredibly bugged, and even if they do patch it and make it work perfectly, you are still going to have to manually play if you're looking to get one of these Titanics because it still is a lot slower than all the other players who are going to be manually farming the raids. Now, with that being said, I am going to be AFKing on 7 accounts using auto raid on all of those accounts. And if you want to know how I run multiple accounts on one PC, using Roblox Account Manager or not using Roblox Account Manager, I have both of those tutorials linked in the description, or you can click the pop-up on screen. But with that being said, I'm going to AFK for a couple of hours and see how many raid levels I can gain just from simply AFKing using auto raid and using all the tips that I just showed you. Now, occasionally I will be coming back to manually buy upgrades because that is going to be pretty important for actually making sure I'm farming efficiently. So if you're going to be AFKing raids, make sure you come back occasionally to spend your upgrade orbs on some more XP and some of the damage ones. But for the most part, start, all of my accounts will be using a rainbow pot of gold with some huge pets while they are AFKing. And before I start AFKing, keep in mind I am at currently raid level 2307 on this account, and then on all my other accounts I'm at around raid level 100. So we're going to keep track of that and see how many raid levels I gain. But with that being said, let's get into the AFKing and see how many raid levels I'm actually able to gain. I do want to quickly check my mailbox. If you want to donate to me using the mailbox, my username is loopedmuffin_rbx. I appreciate all of the mail that you guys send me, but I only shout out anything over 5 million diamonds in wrap or any exclusive pets just to save time in the videos. Thank you so much, Ian the Millionaire, for the rainbow huge mechatronic bot. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Rubber Duck Pond 76 for the golden huge pterodactyl, the 17 million diamonds, the regular huge pterodactyl, and the sad bunny. That is so incredibly generous. Keep in mind, most of the stuff that gets donated is going back into the giveaways for the video, so thank you so much. And thank you, Miant, for the 5 million diamonds. Shout out to the Drowned Clothing Group, and thank you so much for the golden huge lucky cat. Wow, thank you so much, Up GGIH2, for the huge podcat, the huge storm axolotl, the huge blurred axolotl, the huge stealth bobcat, and the huge stunt cat. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, all of your messages are tagged out, but I really do appreciate everything that you gave. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jake Aiden, for the dot matrix axolotl. Thank you. As well as thank you, One Monster 5 for the huge parachute monkey, and thank you, Oaken, for the huge player fox, as well as thank you, Nye, for the huge red fox. Thank you to everyone else who sent me mail. Okay, so I ended up AFKing for around 7 or 8 hours. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get all of that playtime in, considering I started AFKing right as the event came out, and auto raid was incredibly buggy, and I kept doing server restarts, and I didn't even discover that macro method that I showed earlier in the video until a bit later on. So I think I probably got around 5 or 6 hours of gameplay, but on my main account, I started at around raid level 100, and now I'm at raid level 3700. And it's the same story for all of my other alt accounts, except for the one that started at raid level 2300. This account that started at raid level 2300 is now at raid level 4900, basically raid level 5000, which is pretty insane. So after only a few hours of AFKing, I managed to gain over 3000 raid levels on each of my accounts, completely AFKing, simply using the tips and tricks that I showed you earlier in the video. Now, another crazy thing that happened while I was AFKing is that I did manage to hatch a regular huge emerald owl while I was AFKing on my Loopsalt 4 account. So let's go check that out. Yeah, so that's actually pretty cool. So this huge pet, you actually get it from one of the chests at the end of the raid. And since auto raid actually opens the chest at the end, you can actually get these huge pets just from AFKing. And it seems like they're honestly not even that hard to get, considering I managed to actually get one. So that's also another really good thing about the auto raid feature. But with that being said, that is basically everything you need to know about this update and how you can gain thousands of raid levels just by simply AFKing. Now, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget that once we reach 35,000 subscribers, we'll be hosting another massive 50+ huge pet giveaway on PetSim99. Now, I am human and sometimes I do get things wrong. So if there are any corrections, drop them down in the comments and I'll add them to my pinned comment down in the comment section. But with that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck grinding. Congratulations to this user for being the first person to comment on my most recent video. You have won yourself a free huge pet. I do this kind of giveaway every single video, so if you want a chance to win a free huge pet, make sure to turn on post notifications to be notified when I upload. It's time to roll the winners of the giveaway from my most recent video on the new Roblox event. Since this video did not reach any of the like goals, I will only be giving away 10 huge pets. As always, the usernames of all the winners will be shown on screen at the end of this time lapse. Congrats to all of the winners. Congrats to Danny Boy once again for being the first commenter to comment on my last PetSim99 video. You have won yourself another huge pet. Once again, if you want a chance to be the first commenter and win a free huge pet, make sure to turn on post notifications, and I really appreciate the support and the diligence, Daniel. Thank you so much. It's time to roll the winners of the giveaway from my last PetSim 99 video. Since this video did reach the first like goal of 500 likes, I will be adding an extra 5 huge pets to this giveaway for a total of 15 huge pets. As always, the usernames of all the winners will be shown on screen at the end of this time lapse. Congratulations to all of the winners.